Laden is dead, shot in the head by a fearless and very, very precise U.S. military special ops assault team. This is a great day in the war on terror. But as I watched all the celebrations taking place on the streets of America, all over America, you may have, and maybe I'm alone, had a strange feeling. You may have seen students jumping into the lake in Ohio and rushing into the White House bearing signs and smoking cigars. As I watched these things happen last night, I couldn't help but be reminded of when the Palestinians danced in the streets and passed out candy after the 9/11 attacks, when they danced in the streets over the killing of 5 American students and the slaughter of a Jewish family. All of these things, you know and I know, were offensive. All of those victims were innocent. America, we are better than this. We are better than jumping into lakes and holding signs and cigars. I think we're better than that. I mean, why hand out candy when you can have cookies and confetti and a marching band, huh? Yeah. That was tasteless. That was tasteless and offensive. You know what, I tell you, I have actually been struggling with my apologies for the marching. No, I'm not going to apologize for that. I have actually felt really kind of bad today about some of the grotesque displays, and then I thought, no, you can't beat them, join them. And so, hello, America. The White House is now debating whether or not to show the photos of a dead Osama Bin Laden. The arguments for releasing them are pretty clear, to show the world that, yeah, that was him. The arguments against, well, they're pretty gruesome. According to ABC News, Bin Laden had a massive head wound above his left eye where he took the bullet with brains and blood visible. My response to that is, I've been thinking about that guy looking like that for about 10 years now. I think I'm ready. We all saw The Godfather. You remember the scene where Mo Green is getting a massage and then gets shot right through the glasses in the eye? Yeah, that's what happened to Bin Laden. In fact, I've been thinking about it. Who took my artist rendition? Oh, here it is. I worked on this all day. Can we get Harry, look at that. Now, I don't know if it was the right eye, his right eye, or the artist's right eye. I don't know, but this is about as close as we can go. Show the photos, for the love of Pete. Believe me, America can handle the violent images. Our kids are growing up with video games like this one. So, I mean,
Look and wonder how it came to this.
He's got a contact in Rio. Don't you have a guy on the inside?
Okay, so let's not pretend that Americans won't be able to handle seeing another Mo Green special. Plus, put all of that aside. Think of the conspiracy theories that are being dreamed up even as we speak. They buried Bin Laden at sea. The stated reason would be so there would be no shrine that could be erected to honor him as a martyr. Well, why did we get rid of the body? I mean, quite honestly, 100 years ago, we would have taken that thing from town to town and charged money to see it. You know what I'm saying? Does the marching band agree? Yeah? Give me a little number. Go ahead. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? So anyway, we're carried around from town to town, and the conspiracy theorists are not going to be satisfied. Next thing you know, Trump is going to be asking for a death certificate, and is it the real death certificate? And then all hell breaks loose. Yesterday, by the way, was the anniversary of the announcement of another famous mass murderer's death. Did you know this? Adolf Hitler killed himself on April 30th, and it was announced on May 1st. The same day, Bin Laden had his first and last close encounter with an American Special Forces team. But there were those who claimed that Hitler never died because he fled on 2 U-boats during a ghost convoy to Argentina, and the conspiracy theories never stopped. Furthermore, I don't know why we didn't keep him on ice next to the body of Disney down, because you know he's on that island with the fake hippopotamuses that go, roar. That's where Disney's being kept. You know that. Why not keep Bin Laden there? Why were we so cautious about following the traditional procedures for Islamic burial? Preparations at sea for an at-sea burial began at 1:10 a.m. and were completed at 2 a.m. The body was on the deck of a U.S. aircraft carrier in the North Arabian Sea after being washed according to Islamic custom and receiving a religious funeral. The body was placed in a white sheet and put on a flat board, and they slid him off into the sea. May I just say, I'm pretty sure, I know I've heard it from my own government, the last one, this last administration, and this administration. This guy's not a Muslim. Remember, he's a murderer. So why the need to be so religious in the burial? I bet the non-radical Muslims everywhere are offended this guy was treated with religious honors. I spoke to a Muslim friend of mine who said the very same thing today. This is like Timothy McVeigh getting buried in Arlington Cemetery. He was a deranged killer. Personally, I wouldn't have wrapped him in white cloth. I would have wrapped him up in bacon, and then I would have sewn him up inside of a football, and I would have buried him under the 50-yard line in the Meadowlands. You know what I'm saying? Would have served him right, would have been great for New York, and I could sleep well, knowing that he'd spend all eternity in New Jersey. The fact that we went to such lengths to make this statement should tell you something about those who have perverted this religion and are inspired by Osama Bin Laden. He's a mass murderer. And if we say, I'm just thinking out loud, encrusted his body in bacon bits, well, they would have flipped. They flip over a cartoon. This man has killed thousands of innocent people. I'm sorry, when you do that, you kind of lose the whole respectful burial thing in my book. I'm more than okay with him hearing "Touchdown Giants" while he waits for the 72 virgins in unusually warm temperatures for all of eternity. But that's for a debate for another day. Today, our focus should be on the amazing, amazing armed forces. The Special Forces and the SEALs are getting credit for this one. In fact, SEAL Team 6. But here's a fun exercise. Can anyone name the source that said SEAL Team 6 did this? We can't find it. It's reporters saying that. Look SEAL Team 6 up. They don't exist, at least on paper. So we don't know who did this. Could have been the Coast Guard. Could have been the Rangers. Could have been the Delta Force. We don't know who did it. We do know this. It was the U.S. military. And may I say to the military, thank you. What you have done, struggling for 10 long years, is incredible. Thank you. The operation that resulted in the death of the world's #1 most wanted man began way back in the Clinton administration. During a little chat with detainees, no word yet on where these detainees were being held, Guantanamo, perhaps, or maybe somewhere more insidious, the kind of place you would find in the rendition program that Bill Clinton started. You know, the ghost plane that picked people up and then, Egypt, no wait, I'll talk. That one. One of the people that was being waterboarded provided a key detail, the identity of a trusted Bin Laden courier, as someone who was protecting and perhaps even living with him. In 2007, they confirmed the identity of this courier. In 2009, investigators pinpointed areas where this courier could be living in Pakistan. And then this summer, In August of 2010, the exact residence of the courier was located. In February of this year, the president met with U.S. officials and said there's enough intelligence to assume that Bin Laden was there. And over the last 2 months, a plan to take Bin Laden out was crafted. And on Friday, President Obama gave the order to send in the SEALs, or whoever he may have sent in. In the early hours of Sunday morning, our guys made history. Before we move on, let me just say this to the President, our Commander-in-Chief. Thank you. The Bin Laden compound was not in remote caves along the Pakistan border like many thought. It was here in a relatively affluent neighborhood with many retired military. It was 1,000 yards from their version of West Point. Gee, I can't find Bin Laden. 1,000 yards. The compound is valued at about $1 million, which I really was surprised. I didn't think property values were that high. It must be a nice part of Pakistan. A 3-story house on 1 acre. It had an 18-foot wall and very few windows. The strike team was ready to go. They boarded the choppers and then headed for the compound. When they approached the compound, there was a problem with one of the helicopters. Now, these guys like to strike hard and fast. They didn't have much time to get the enemy off guard considering all of the noise, and now one of the helicopters was malfunctioning. The president and a select few who were watching from the Situation Room, they were watching live, held their breath. But our guys said, "We're going in." A senior official said the assault team went ahead and raided the compound, even though they didn't know if they would have a ride home. God bless the U.S. military. They had a hard landing. They set the helicopter down in the compound and then went in after Bin Laden. Here the details get a little bit murky, shall you say, but Bin Laden and associates resisted. Oh, shoot, are we going to have to shoot them in the end? Yes. They began a futile shootout with the deadliest strike force the world has ever seen. The shootout raged. Bin Laden is said to have personally engaged our troops. It was only a matter of time before we got him, and he ended up getting a bullet. Right. This is not an actual picture. His couriers were taken out. We don't know which one, but one of these dirt bags used a woman as a human shield. The woman turned out to be one of Osama bin Laden's many wives. So there he was, using a shield. She was killed, and so was whichever dirt bag was holding her. When I heard this part of the story, I thought to myself, gee, how predictable. Using a woman to hide behind. They hide behind women and children all the time. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Well, the story goes that we asked Osama bin Laden to surrender. He refused. I wonder if we gave him a second chance. I'm not sure if he was finished with his dialysis yet, but we shot him in the head. A reinforcement aircraft came for the evac. Our guys took possession of bin Laden's body, carried it out, and got the hell out of Pakistan, even though it's a very nice house. It all went down in about 40 minutes. Here's the best part. None of our guys were killed or seriously wounded. No civilians were hurt or killed. This morning, when I started my radio broadcast, I played the audio of September 11th, again, something that I had put together years ago, so we wouldn't forget what this was really all about. It's been a long time coming, and I cannot adequately express in words how grateful I am that the U.S. military is there. Now, to top it off, after they went in and got him and then got out, after the kill, second to none, they clean him up. I mean, here's a guy who was either directly responsible for or inspired radical terrorists to kill to kill their brothers. This guy has killed how many, or inspired to kill how many of our servicemen and women? Our troops have lost brothers, they have lost arms and legs. Wives have lost husbands and vice versa. Kids have been orphans. Lives have been forever altered. The whole world has changed because of this dirtbag. And yet they still wash his body and care for it and wrap it. I'd give my right arm to have a can of Spam at that point, but they didn't. No other country in the world, in fact, in the history of the world, has ever done anything like that. Will it matter? No. No, it won't. But we didn't change. You know, every time I think that, oh, I don't know if we could do the cookies or the confetti or whatever, I see it's not marching in the streets for innocent victims. It is celebrating in the streets for a journey that has been long and hard and been fought valiantly with honor, and people have tried to do the right thing. And this guy was certainly not innocent. Let's not forget who this man was. He was the mastermind behind 9/11. 3,000 innocent people, innocent, dead. But that's not all. The 1993 World Trade Center bombing, the 1996 bombing of the Khobar Towers, the 98 U.S. Embassy bombings in Kenya, 219 were killed there. Dar es Salaam, 5,000 injured. In 2000, the USS Cole in Yemen, the attacks again of September 11th, the U.S. consulate in Pakistan. In 2002, do you remember the Bali nightclub bombings? In 2002, he went to Kenya again and bombed some more. I know I cannot speak for these people, so this is unofficial. But this is for everyone involved in this operation. All of those men and women who have been wearing the uniform, or those that we don't ever know their names or don't know their faces, who have worked tirelessly in the years leading up to last night. Despite all odds, despite the politicians on both sides and both parties handcuffing you, may I just say, thank you. Daniel Pearl, if he could speak, would say, thank you. Pat Tillman, thank you. Todd Beamer and the other victims of United Flight 93, thank you. Barbara Olson, thanks you. Intelligence agent Johnny Michael Spann, thanks you. Michael P. Murphy and Max Axelton. Matt Axelton of SEAL Team 10, thanks you. The 17 USS Cole servicemen, including Petty Officer 2nd Class Timothy Lamont Saunders, thanks you. The 3,000 people who died on September 11th, the 3,000 people, thank you. The people who finally woke up from our slumber and realized how close we really were to losing our freedom, thank you. My family thanks you, and I thank you. That was the crowd last night at the Phillies-Mets game. Boy, the place not to be last night if you were an Al-Qaeda member would be New York, Philadelphia. News spread on Facebook and spread fast about Bin Laden's death. People didn't need TV at all. Once again, the mainstream media was beat to the punch by its replacement, the internet. Even though he had no idea what was happening, this man scooped the world. A Pakistani man live blogged the raid on Osama Bin Laden's compound in suburban Pakistan on Twitter. Sohab Attar was up late when he suddenly heard a loud sound of helicopters in the area, and he began tweeting back and forth on what was going on. He describes himself as a IT consultant taking a break from the rat race by hiding in the mountains. Little did he know the rat race was coming to him, hiding in the same place Osama Bin Laden did. Here is his first tweet. I'm going to put it up here. Here's his first tweet. I love this. Helicopter hovering above at 1 a.m. This is a rare event. A few minutes later, it's obvious this rare event is happening for a long period of time, and he's annoyed. He writes, "Go away, helicopter, before I take out my giant swatter." Yeah, I don't think that one would work on this helicopter. But it didn't go away, and it only got more intense. Quote, "A huge window shaking bang here. I hope it's not the start of something nasty." Oh, just the end of something nasty. That was the point when the SEAL team blew up the malfunctioning helicopter. A short time later, the news broke that President Obama was speaking, and immediately he retweeted people connecting the two events together. I think the helicopter crash in Pakistan and President Obama breaking news are connected. Anyone following this guy had instant, real-time information that no one else in the world had. Once again, he learned that Osama bin Laden was his neighbor, and then he tweeted, "Funny, moving to Abbottabad was part of the being safe strategy." And now this morning he was tweeting about being bombarded with media requests, so many that he can't even keep up with them. I was in the Oval Office under George W. Bush. I had said some nasty things about him on CNN. Yeah, believe it or not. Except that president invited me to the Oval Office to chat. It was the day that the candidate, Barack Obama, said that he would fly jets into Pakistan if he had to in order to get bin Laden. Here's what he said.
If we have actionable intelligence about high-value terrorist targets and President Musharraf will not act, we will.
I remember hearing that and thinking, that's crazy talk. On a side note, in that same speech, candidate Obama said this.
The threat is real. They distort Islam. They kill man, woman, and child, Christian and Hindu, Jew and Muslim. They seek to create a repressive caliphate.
What's that word? What a conspiracy theory this guy was on. Anyway, I remember going into the Oval Office on that day, and that is one thing I wanted to bring up. I remember thinking flying jets, our jets, across a border into Pakistan without their permission is crazy. And then the President of the United States told me something that I thought was even crazier. In fact, one of the spookiest things, this really kind of was a turning point for me. I'm like, uh-oh, this isn't good. He said, don't worry. Whoever sits in this desk has very few options. He will know that his hands are tied. Having said that, he said, if I knew where bin Laden was, I'd get him. In the end, Obama didn't use jets. It was the assets on the ground and a few helicopters. You have to give President Obama credit. He made the call. Although I don't think, hey, yeah, let's kill Obama is all that tough, or bin Laden is all that tough of a call, but I'm not the one in that seat, you know. He did seem a little arrogant in last night's speech. I give more credit to the troops who have been on the ground looking for 10 years. But he did create the condition to allow Osama bin Laden to be killed. And he deserves respect for that and our thanks. The question is now, what happens? Are we done in Afghanistan? Was this the objective the whole time? Isn't this the perfect excuse to get our troops out of Afghanistan? President Obama said that we were going to get out of these places. Well, now do we have the excuse? And what does the world look like if we do? Here's what the Muslim Brotherhood is saying today. With bin Laden's death, one of the reasons for which violence has been practiced in the world has been removed. It's time for Obama to pull out of Afghanistan and Iraq and end the occupation of U.S. and Western forces around the world that has for so long harmed Muslim countries. Well, what's next? It's a great day today, But something tells me that this doesn't necessarily mean things are going to get better, or at least easier. We'll look at that next. Well, in case you haven't heard the big news today, congratulations to Mariah Carey and Nick Cannon, who gave birth to twins over the weekend. Also in the news, something about Osama Bin Laden being dead. Any day that Osama Bin Laden dies is a good day. Seeing that we helped arrange the meeting between him and Allah makes it an extra special sweet day. You might be conflicted, maybe not, over marching bands in the studio to celebrate and, confetti and cookies. But there is no question that a big thank you to our military is warranted. We must remember, however, that this is just one guy. Just one guy. A hugely important guy. But Osama bin Laden was more than just a guy. He was an idea. And that idea didn't die. Getting rid of one horrible mass murderer is not going to bring an end to the struggle, even if this is an actual photo from the scene. There he is, even if he's dead and looks like this. The reason why is the world is on fire, and it is on fire despite this huge victory. For example, Libya. When I found out the president was going to speak last night, I thought it was going to be about Libya and the mess we have made now with Russia and China. Here's what we do know that happened over the weekend. NATO launched 3 missiles into one of Gaddafi's compounds and blew it up. Celebrations erupted outside of the compound. There are reports now that the attack killed one of Gaddafi's sons and 3 grandchildren. Even though his son's funeral took place today, the rebels aren't buying this story. Now, to get revenge, Gaddafi's friends destroyed the British and Italian embassies in Libya. Seems like a good idea. Then the British authorities banned the Libyan ambassador from the country. And now Gaddafi is waging war on Italy because of its colonization attempts. Remember, this is a guy who has major amounts of cash. He is going to fund terror all around the world. And while Libya trades major international incidents with the rest of the world, our handling of the, what do they call it, the kinetic military operation in Libya is upsetting what we used to know as our allies, as tenuous as they might be now. Saudi Arabia was reportedly very upset with the specific targeting of Muammar Gaddafi because it sent the message to rebels that the only way to get real change is to kill the leaders of your country. This on the heels of the reported newly forming alliance between Saudi Arabia and the Chinese and the Russians, formed after Obama's bungling of the Egyptian revolution. Watch.
The Saudis are so unhappy with the Obama administration for the way it pushed out President Mubarak of Egypt that it sent high-level emissaries to China and Russia to tell those 2 countries that Saudi Arabia now is prepared to do more business with them.
There's nothing better than an important source, for our oil, essentially starting to date the Chinese and kiss the Russian government. What could possibly go wrong there? All of this plays into a Russian media report now that I read last night accusing the United States of actually lying about what we're doing in Libya. Whether it's true or not, this is what the Russians are now saying. Both Russian and Iranian media are asking whether or not the U.S. is headed for war with China. I hope not. This is fuel to churn up even more anti-U.S. sentiment than is already usually present in the area. Today, we are able to celebrate the pleasant surprise of Osama bin Laden's utter demise. But we must continue to keep our eye on the ball of tomorrow, where the problems in the Middle East aren't over. I fear they are just starting to heat up. One piece of this puzzle that is likely to get larger in the coming days is our relationship with Pakistan. something doesn't feel quite right here. Osama Bin Laden was hanging out, apparently 1,000 yards from the West Point of Pakistan. Is it really possible that nobody in this small little town knew what was behind those 18-foot walls? No idea that he was there? Or were they protecting him? The reason why this is important is we give them billions of dollars in aid. And we have a tenuous relationship at best with them, even before this happened. We know that Pakistan is ruled by force. So how could this giant compound, this large, be in existence without the authorities knowing about it? How could word not leak out? And how can we continue to throw them billions as an investment that doesn't seem to be paying the dividends? Or is this the good dividends that we can expect? What happens if we stop paying them dividends and stop paying them billions of dollars? I spoke to Michael Scheuer today on my radio program. He's been on the TV a lot today. I like Michael Scheuer. He is, I don't agree with him on everything. Some things I vehemently disagree with him. But he at least is honest and will tell you exactly what's on his mind. He's not trying to make friends. He's trying to tell the truth. He's the former head of the CIA Bin Laden unit. He expressed many of the same concerns. He said the Pakistani interests are not our interests, and we cannot depend on them to carry out our dirty work. Amen. If you're thinking that our removal of a mass murderer of Muslims and non-Muslims alike is going to help our image in Pakistan, no, I don't think so. In fact, let me show you a video that just might change your mind. I want you to know that today I plugged in the red phone. Yes, Mr. President, I want you to know, today and today only, you can call and I'll say nice things, lots and lots of nice things. Thank you, Mr. President. Good job. Offer ends today. Now, as much as the death of Osama Bin Laden is exciting a lot of people, let's remember that we removed the world's worst terrorist from Pakistan. You'd think they'd be happy about it, but they're not. No, they're not really. Anti-American pro-Bin Laden protest broke out in Pakistan as hundreds of people flooded the streets to show their support for Osama Bin Laden, who, by the way, is dead. Did I mention that? Where'd the band go? The crowd burned an effigy that was supposed to represent the U.S. and stomped on it. Others reported seeing U.S. flags burning and other anti-U.S. propaganda. We would have brought you the video, but one of our machines broke down today. Remember, this is our ally. The public line is that Pakistan is a great ally. I mean, they're okay, sure. But wouldn't it be better if we were still cozying up to Great Britain and Israel, who we know they're our friends? Maybe? Is it just me? Sorry. Today I'll be nice. Thank you. I will tell you that yesterday my son was sick, so we laid together down on the couch and I read a book to him for about an hour and a half, and then we played Angry Birds for a while. And as he would kind of drift off, I would write. I had an entirely different show planned for you today, but the news of the day changed everything. But it's something I want to talk to you about over the next few weeks. I can't tell you how many viewers have written to us in the last few days on our advice. How can you help the tornado victims in the South? How can you help the people in Texas? People are asking where they can volunteer or give money or supplies that will go directly to the victims. I don't know. Due to the overwhelming amount of requests that we've gotten, we have set up a page where you can go and get all of that information, the best we can do at this point. You can log on to glennbeck.com/help, and you'll find links to a bunch of charities that we think are pretty good, that will, get your money or your supplies to the right place. And if you're unable to volunteer or give money at this time, but still want to do something, may I suggest prayer? It doesn't cost a dime, and folks in the South could certainly use your prayers right now. But one of the things that I was going to talk to you about is in all of this amazing devastation, they're having a hard time keeping up with the volunteers. People are volunteering like crazy. You may know, if you have been reading any of the reports, that I am leaving this program. And we'll talk more about that as we get closer. But I want to show you what we have done on this program. First, we came out and we just tried to figure out what was going on. And when we started to see it, we sensed that you were feeling alone, that you didn't have a voice. And so we did the show, You Are Not Alone, the We Surround Them show, which introduced the 9/12 Project. Be the people that we were on 9/12 and focus on the values and principles that made this country great. But then we realized that so many people really didn't have any idea who our founders were. I was saying, question with boldness, hold to the truth, and speak without fear. But as people were questioning, they didn't even know about our founders. So we started Founding Fridays, or Founders Fridays. And over the summer of that year, we did the history of race relations and civil rights. We've done more history on a news show than I think anybody has done, maybe ever. And then in August, on 8/28, we did the Restoring Honor program. 8/28. It was amazing, which led us here to the 40-day and 40-night challenge. I said, change yourself. We went to Wilmington, showing people that could give us hope. And then we started E4, the idea, the quest for enlightenment and education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. That's where we've been. That's where we've been. So now the question is, where are we going? Well, in the same direction. I'm going to be asking you in the next few days to be a bright light. Be a bright light. And we'll show you where we're headed. Now, on this Friday's program, we are going to be talking to teachers who are upset at the system. They love teaching, but they hate what it's become. If you're a teacher and you'd like to be part of our studio audience, I need you to write in. Write to becktix@gmail.com. That's Google, isn't it? Is Google reading all of our email for the people that are ticket on? Don't trust them, you know. Or is that a conspiracy theory again? Write to becktix@gmail.com. That is this Friday's broadcast. And later this week, we will be talking a little bit more about where we're headed. Where we're headed. And on tomorrow's program, something that was missed by the news because of Osama Bin Laden's death, and that is Lara Logan. She did an episode of 60 Minutes last night, and it needs to be seen by all Americans. You need to see it. We will play parts of it tomorrow from New York. Good night, America. The scene where Mo Green is getting a massage and then gets shot right through the glasses in the eye. Yeah, that's what happened to Bin Laden. In fact, I've been thinking about it. Who took my artist rendition? Oh, here it is. I worked on this all day. Can we get a, Harry, look at that. Now, I don't know if it was the right eye, his right eye, or the artist's right eye. I don't know, but this is about as close as we can go. Show the photos, for the love of Pete. Believe me, American can handle the violent images. Our kids are growing up with video games like this one. So, I mean...
Look and wonder how it came to this.
He's got a contact in real. Don't you have a guy on the inside?
Okay, so let's not pretend that Americans won't be able to handle seeing Bin Laden is dead, shot in the head by a fearless and very, very precise U.S. military special ops assault team. This is a great day in the war on terror. But as I watched all the celebrations taking place on the streets of America, all over America, you may have and maybe I'm alone, had a strange feeling. You may have seen students jumping into the lake in Ohio and rushing into the White House bearing signs and smoking cigars. As I watched these things happen last night, I couldn't help but be reminded of when the Palestinians danced in the streets and passed out candy after the 9/11 attacks, when they danced in the streets over the killing of 5 American students and the slaughter of a Jewish family. All of these things, you know and I know, were offensive. All of those victims. That was tasteless. That was tasteless and offensive. You know what, I tell you, I have actually been struggling with my apologies for the marching. No, I'm not going to apologize for that. I have actually felt really kind of bad today about some of the grotesque displays, and then I thought, no, you can't beat them, join them. And so, hello, America. The White House is now debating whether or not to show the photos of a dead Osama Bin Laden. The arguments for releasing them are pretty clear, to show the world that, yeah, that was him. The arguments against, well, they're pretty gruesome. According to ABC News, Bin Laden had a massive head wound above his left eye where he took the bullet with brains and blood visible. My response to that is, I've been thinking about that guy looking like that for about 10 years now. I think I'm ready. We all saw The Godfather. You remember them? We're innocent. America, we are better than this. We are better than jumping into lakes and holding signs and cigars. I think we're better than that. I mean, why hand out candy when you can have cookies and confetti and a marching band, huh? Yeah.